Hello my friends, it's Bradley J. Welcome to Bradley J. Travel. This is a big long video, and it's a video of one of my very first trips. Not the first, but, an early trip, I think 1996, and it's the first trip I took with Shannon. And it's big. Portugal. We went to Lisbon, and then down south to Lagos, then back to Lisbon, and then up to Nazare, then Obidos, the walled city of Obidos, and then down to Sintra. I'm not going to edit my narration here at all. This video is almost an hour long, I guess 53 minutes. I'm not going to give you a bunch of history. I'll just describe what you're seeing, and if I feel like saying anything else, then I'll say that. 1996, first trip. And there was a real kind of flying bad spot on the way back that I'll tell you about as well. So this is Lisbon, and the Hotel San Mamed. As you can see, charming hotel. We found it in a book and decided to book it. I can't remember. We stayed there twice upon arrival, and then when we came back through. I can't remember if we booked the second time ahead or not. Since I've come to not book things ahead, maybe back then I was booking things ahead. This, by the way, is the Alfama, which is the kind of gritty, for the longest time, gritty area of town where the dock workers worked. And now it's the Islamic part of town, at least it was when I was there. And for my money, the very best part of town. That's where we went on day 2. I don't know if we went there on day 1 or not. One incident I do remember there, and Shannon never lets me forget it, is I ate some bacalhau. Do you know what bacalhau is? Well, it's something made out of cod. And I went in there into this restaurant with no lights on. Well, I don't know if it was a restaurant. It was more like a market or like a convenience store. It had this case. I don't even think it was refrigerated. And Shannon said, "You're not going to eat that, are you?" And I was all, "Yes, I am." Luckily, I didn't get sick, because I guess salt cod keeps pretty well. But it was kind of a chancy thing. Now back to the Alfama. It's up on the hill side of the bay. Narrow, twisting cobblestone streets. Clothing hung out to dry. Definitely my favorite area. Portugal has lots of cool churches. I don't know the name of this church. As I told you, I'm not going to be all formal about this. It's a church you can visit when you go. And it's kind of memorable because it rained down pretty hard. The best view is on the roof. I suppose this is a good time to remind you never to take a nap when you get to a European destination. Never, ever, ever do it. You'll want to do it. You'll be tired. It will seem so inviting to go lay down in a bed just to rest your eyes. And I do air quotes when I say that. Don't do it, because it will mess up your sleep pattern for the entire trip, and it will diminish the quality of the trip. How do I know that? Because we did take a nap, and it destroyed us. You take a nap, you can't tear yourself out of bed, you get up in the evening, and then you can't sleep. That was a big problem for me. I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark out. And like an idiot, like a real idiot, I had left my med bag, call it what you will, my toiletry bag under the seat in the airplane, and they would not let me go back and get it. That was a crusher because I had sleeping pills in there, legit sleeping pills, and they was gone. So, having read about valerian root and how it had sleepy properties, tried some of that in a commercial concoction called Valdispert. Didn't work at all. The only thing that worked was Vino Verde wine. Vino Verde wine is a green wine. It's very young and it's great. It might be my favorite white wine. Still, look at that. I hope these trains are still running there. Anyway, don't take a nap. That's going up the hill in Alfama. Do not take a nap. Drink a lot of coffee, drink espresso. You'll probably need way more than you usually drink, but don't drink too many espressos because that will wreak havoc with your digestive system, which I found out in Ireland one time. Thought I'd pass that along to you. Don't pound the espressos. Just when you need one, go ahead and take one. Coffee over there, as you may or may not know, is an entirely different thing. Over there meaning anywhere that's not here in the United States. By the way, I'm not always going to talk. This is not going to be a steady stream of talking. I can just let these images roll. But as things pop up, that's back in San Mamed, the hotel. It's as old school, old world. I always take pictures of everything, including the bathrooms, because I want to remember. This video was shot for me and not for you. I'm not even going to edit it because I don't want to lose any of the memories, even though it may not be the best for presentation purposes. We loved that hotel. Had this cool little sitting area in front of the rooms. I remember that the proprietor did not speak English much, so it was helpful that Shannon kind of knows the language enough to get by. I wonder if she still does. I mentioned that I take video of everything, including the bathrooms. Later on we'll get to it, but a lot of people are horrified by those toilets, public toilets that don't have a seat that you just stand in. Well, I think they're better. I'll get into that again when we're there. This is important. This is a ferry. I wish I'd had more footage of that ferry. Got up early on morning 2, I think. Yeah, must have gone to Alfama on day 1, right after arrival. Then took the ferry across the bay to a train to head to Lagos. There's Shannon in the train. I love trains. I love the old school trains. This train did not go very fast. Did not go very quickly. At some places it just crawled along. But what's the hurry? It's much better than a bus. I'm not about just the speed, you know. The one thing we'll get to in a moment is Cork, K-O-R, no, C-O-R-K. Cork, yeah. This is where they make a lot of corks, because they have a lot of cork trees, I guess. And in a bit you'll see piles of cork bark stacked up on their way to the cork making factory, I guess. By the way, all the music you hear in the background is original, made by moi. course, I'm not going to use copyrighted music, and I'm not going to use that generic music that you can just use. Yes, you will see a lot of footage of trains, train cars, the space between the cars, the doors, the signs, the engine. I don't think I'm a train freak, but I'm kind of up there on the scale. In the U.S., I've been on, and I always wonder why, 7 or 8 times I've done long haul Amtrak trips from Chicago to Seattle twice, Chicago to San Francisco, Chicago to Los Angeles, then New Orleans to Los Angeles, which is probably my favorite, and then the Coast Starlight, which goes from Seattle to Los Angeles twice. And a shorter one, but still cool, is the city of New Orleans, as far from New Orleans to Memphis and back. I don't really consider that long haul because that's only 10 hours. Let's see, what is that? This is got to be still on the way to Lagos, Lagos. There's a place called Lagos in Africa too. And when we were seeing the weather reports, we'd see Lagos, 1 million degrees, and think, it doesn't feel that hot here. What's going on? And then realize, oh, they must be talking about the one in Africa. Hope I got that spelled right. If I embarrass myself there, nothing I can do about it now. Rolling hills and dales. What you look forward to in Lagos is it's right on the water, and it's a fishing village. There's the cork. Lots of cork. Dudes, what are they doing? They're just chopping up trees. I just think they were maintenance guys. You got the European tile roof tiles there. I don't know why I was so... Is he getting cork, or is he just cutting that thing? I don't know. Sure, I know I could edit this part out, but again, I don't want to lose any of the footage because these are all super valuable memories for me. This is when the train's going wicked slow. I'm hoping that's just mud in that river and not some horrible chemicals. But there's not a lot of industry, like no industry that I could see, so I don't know where the chemicals would come from. We'll be coming into Lagos soon. Upon arrival, there were folks right at the train station saying, "You want a place to stay? You want a place to stay?" And we said, "Yeah, sure, why not? Let's go look at a place." And it was $20, maybe $15, but it was just a room with a bare light bulb hanging down. No thanks. Then, where till you see the place we did get? It was only $40, but it had marble stairs, marble floors inside, marble floors. It had a huge kitchen, bigger than most hotel rooms, and a huge bathroom with a bathtub that was very long, and it was just super spacious. I freaked out. I wanted to stay there as long as I could because it was such a deal. $40. The lady was very nice, had a balcony. I remember all this vividly, even though it was some 30 years ago, partly because I watched the video from time to time. The trip means a lot to Shannon and myself. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention. Upon arrival, we had the worst cab, and we always joke that it had square tires. It had something wrong with it. It was like cocoon, 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 cocoon. But he made it okay. Now this is coming down to Lagos. And I told you about where we stayed. Again, I told you that I screwed up by taking a nap. And even in Lagos, I couldn't sleep. So I was so tired that we went to bed early and then woke up stupid early. Here's the place. It's good to see. Little sitting room, marble stairs, view from the balcony. Anyway, so tired, so jet lagged, and unable to snap out of it. Where eyelids are just closing, I don't know, like 8 o'clock. And there was not a lot of TV at the time, but there's one thing they had was the X-Files, but it was not in English, it was in Portuguese, I think. And so they would say, Secretos Microfiche. That's what X-Files is. And you didn't really need to, X-Files, do you really need to hear the words? No. It was the only thing close to anything to watch. And then we go soak in the big giant tub, and we fell asleep in the tub, like gonked right out. And then I woke up again ridiculously early. And I wandered down to the water's edge, where there was this little cafe just for fishermen. And it's up. Is this it right here? No. The thing's got to be open at 4, because it was open when I got there. And it has some strong coffee, and just try to stay up the whole day. This is the general area where that was. It's really nice to get a beer and sit on these steps. People go fishing here a lot. You can tell because there are some stone steps that go down to this water that are covered with fish scales from people catching fish and scraping the scales off on the stairs. Those are the stairs. See if you can see the fish scales on them. No. This contemplative Shannon. Nice walled part of the city. Boats. Fishing. Look at the nice blue. And that's an old prominence, old stone prominence there. Later on this night, Shannon got lost, or we got separated, let's say. I guess we both there's the fish scales. We both got lost and had some tense moments, and then we found each other and reunited and went and had a couple of glasses of wine and something to eat. Seriously, I always remember the cost was like $3. Doesn't seem possible now. It couldn't have been $3. It was ridiculously cheap. I think the wine was $1.50 a glass. There's the view from the balcony at night. The balcon. You may recognize that as the moon. Yeah, there are lots of churches. I'm all churched out, to tell you the truth. There are great churches right in Boston. Okay. This is not in Lagos. This is a spot some distance from Lagos. It's so interesting what you remember. Shannon and I both remember having a tuna sandwich, but not the tuna kind of tuna we expected. It was like super greasy, super oily. It was not the solid white tuna of the United States. This is Sagres, by the way, Sagres. These cliffs. And it's known as the end of the world. It is the southwesterly extreme of Europe. And the Romans called it, what did they call it? Promontorium Sacrum. Sacrum, I think. Not sanctum, but sacrum. In other words, the end of the world. Really high cliffs, people fish off them. I was really concerned that I didn't want to fall off, but I was really concerned because I didn't want Shannon to fall off because I had promised her father to take care of her. and allowing her to fall off this cliff would not qualify as taking care of her. When these guys catch a fish, it must be really something to lug that wiggling weight all the way up there. And they must have a lot of line on those things, because that's high up. This was such an adventure. The end of the world. At the time. Back in the day, Portugal was big in the exploring business and the navigating business. I remember this. This was creepy because the ground, Shannon walked across that area and then I followed her. The ground was uneven and weird and covered by this greenery. It was almost like it had been a trash area that had been grown over by greenery. See, I could cut this stuff out, but no, there's a vibe here, even though you really can't see anything that's important for me to keep. This is what it looked like. This was the first time I used a video camera, first video camera I had. It was a Sony camera that used digital tape. And it had its limitations, but for back then it was a big deal. It was a lot smaller than those big goofy ones. And this is way before I learned to edit video. And the outputs on the camera, I believe, well, the ones I was using were the regular RCA outputs, like on the back of your stereo receiver. And the way you would watch it is to plug it into either a TV or a VCR, and you could make a copy. The way you would edit it, it's kind of play it into the VCR and hit record when you want it to record and leave the undesirable footage on the camera. But of course you lose a generation of clarity. I believe this is still in Lagos. I can't be sure. Doesn't it look just like it's supposed to? One thing about Portugal, it was certainly unspoiled then. It was not westernized at all. No American chains that I can remember. Oh, actually, that's not true, because we ate at one. We got some pizza at some chain because I didn't have cash, I think, and they might have been the only people around that took credit. But you definitely try to stay away from those places. Looks like it's early morning again. Sagres. Faro. No crowds. No tourists. This is January, by the way. And January is good for shirt sleeves. This is a serious fishing town. Now I believe we're boarding the bus maybe to go to Monchique. Now Monchique is away from the coast, up in the kind of the mountains. Mon probably means mountain, and chic mountain. I had a place we were going to stay, but it was closed or something. We took a cab to it from the bus station, I think. But they were closed, and asked if they had a recommendation. You got to go with the flow. They did, and the place we went was so fantastic. Pretty charming, right? This is a really old church, famous for the doorway, the knots on the door. That's its big claim to fame as far as I know. I even looked it up since, and the knots are the big deal. Oh, one thing to note about Portugal is how verdant it is. It is lush. It is jungle-like. Well, actually, how do I know? I've never been to a jungle. Can you believe that? I've never been to a jungle. How can I call myself a traveler? I'm really not a world traveler because I barely get down below the equator. I don't know what my furthest south would be. I guess Luxor in Egypt. The place we stayed, it was charming. On walking to it, we walked by all these lemons, big giant lemon trees that you saw. And it had a lot of spacious grounds. And it was run by a woman who was a widow. This is it. She seemed sad. And oh, look at that, man. It had these little grottos. We had a bottle of wine. That's what it's all about, right? Shannon looks tired, huh? But we were in a good mood. We love the place. They put these warmers in your bed at night to warm up the bed. Like old school warmers. I'm glad I took the video because there's something like this. It's hard for me to remember. I would have gotten it mixed up otherwise. This is breakfast. This is when we met we talked to the proprietor's son. She seemed kind of sad that she was alone, kind of bitter. Who can blame her? This is all very affordable because this is back when I was cheap. Frugal, I guess. I put Shannon through so many crappy hotels. Good God. You know, really bad, like in the New York state, upstate New York, really bad places with like weird green sinks. And I think the first hotel I took her to had a pool that it was kind of like that pool actually, but no, the pool with no water in it. It was just gross. I can't believe she hung in there. It's just interesting to see the video because I mix up this place with the last place, the final place we went in Sintra. I guess I'll remind you here that if you're ever going anywhere with me, it's backpack only. Please, I beg you, do not take a roller case. You just don't need it. And you become a slave to that thing. Ask Rick Steves. He's a pro. You love him. You trust Rick Steves. He'll tell you, backpack, no more than 20 pounds. But I don't even use 20 pounds because I want to be able to walk with it all day long and not even have it be a concern. Nice grotto. I'm big on the grottos. Bathrooms. Now, let's talk about that a little bit. This is the train station en route from probably from Monchique back to Lisbon. And I know that Americans don't usually like the squat toilets where it's porcelain, it's a flat porcelain, just a place to put your feet and a hole. But I maintain I prefer them because they're way more sanitary. Do you really want to sitting in a public toilet is way more gross than squatting. It's gross. Somebody else put their skin where you're going to put your skin. Really? You think that's cool? You like that? The other thing is, it's far easier to clean those squat toilets. You can just hose them down with some chemicals or something. Hose them down. Nobody really ever cleans a regular toilet in a public place completely, do you think? So I'll take those any day. But in a future hotel, I'll give you the real horror story. Now, I love trains, and we're going to stay here. And there's a lot of footage of this. Just Shannon talking to a guy. I think his name is Richard. I think those beers are Sagres beers. That's the beer you get. That's just the go-to beer. And this guy, super friendly, and he wanted to practice speaking his English like so many do. And he was very, very friendly, and there's a special feeling you get communicating with somebody from a faraway place. Now, this is not super far away, but for us, it was different. It's another language. And we'd been away long enough to feel like talking to people. Nothing like relaxing in a train. You know, recently I read a thing about relaxation, and it gave a couple of members a couple of methods of relaxation, but one of them is to have optical flow. In other words, have stuff passing in front of your eyes, like happens when you're moving, biking, walking. I hate running, so don't count that. All right, you can count that. You're driving in a car, riding in a train. And I think that's one of the reasons that riding in a train is so relaxing. Because, it's just nice. Now, yeah, this is back to Lisbon and San Mohamed. Yes, you've already seen this. So what? I'm not going to edit this out. These are treasured memories. And we still had not gotten the jet lag taken care of. Again, never take a nap upon arrival. I remember this part. This is the big park they have. They're very proud of their park. I didn't like it at all. It was not great for me. But I'm not going to edit it out. One thing they did have, I don't think I have any footage of it, is really great public gardens with real exotic plants. The day before leaving, it was not a zoo, but it felt like a zoo. And it was a zoo for plants, let's put it that way. And they had a nice snack bar, and we sat around and relaxed in this lush green garden. Wish I'd taken footage of that instead of this. I don't know where this is from, up high like this. I know it's Lisbon, yes, but where was I? Not important. I guess this is a good time to tell you about the kind of scary thing that happened on the way back. Now, I know that seasoned flyers will say, turbulence, no big deal. It's fine. But it's not always the case. Because on the way back, man, we hit some high altitude turbulence that was shocking. Now, nobody hit the ceiling quite, but you know how some turbulence is kind of slow, like whoom, whoom, whoom. This turbulence went bang, bang, bang. I'll give you the whole story. It was the most scared. It was horrifying for me. And it was out over the North Atlantic, I guess. I'm gonna actually have to pick up that story later, because I got to tell you about this. Yeah, wow. We got off on the wrong stop on the way up north, and we had to wait for a train to come back. So we saw what we thought was a jail, a prison. We really did. We heard the screaming and yelling, so we walked over there, maybe a quarter of a mile. And it was a soccer game going. And this is the inter-small town leagues in places like Portugal are brutal beyond what you can imagine. Way more brutal than anything in America. And, you know, the professional soccer is pretty sanitized compared to this. But this is slug it out brutal. They were stopping play and lugging somebody off every few minutes, like this. Bye-bye. This happened a number of times. They might play for 10 minutes and they got to lug somebody away. The fans are so aggressive. They have to be kept in separate. They have to be separated by and fenced in, not only in front and on the sides, but over the top, so they can't climb up the fence. Not only that, the coach is fenced in. You'll see him in a bit, screaming away. He's by himself. Oh, did I miss him already? I guess so. You already saw him. He was the guy in the trench coat. So after that, we had to wait here for the train to come, and they had this market. Oops, I don't know how this happened. This is moving ahead to Nazare. This is the worst hotel room, one of the worst hotel rooms ever. Even though, as you can see, it's right on the beach. I thought it was going to be okay. It really wasn't. There's a road between the beach and the room, but that's okay because it wasn't loud. It wasn't busy. But that's a place that had one of those squat toilets, but that squat toilet was also the shower. So all they did was take a squat toilet and put a shower head over the top. So basically you're taking a shower in the toilet. And maybe that's okay for them, but that was not okay for me. It was a shocker to realize that, and I only realized that after we got in there. Nazare here has some of the biggest waves in the world, beyond description. It's just a case of those multi-petticoated women that Portugal is famous for, and maybe particularly Nazare. Very cool, breezy, misty. That's their version of a lobster, I think. Those waves are nothing. The waves here, for some reason, get massive. This is a fun scene coming up. This is the morning after the night before, and Shannon decides to feed a few seagulls. In a minute, you'll get a full-on attack. Not really an attack. I don't mean to say attack. They just wanted to eat some of whatever she had. They wanted some of what she was offering. You can take a funicular rail up there. I didn't even know that at the time, but I saw it on Rick Steves after. Yeah, these birds got Shannon's number. There they come. You could feel the wind whipped up by their wings. And this market, I thought that was in the town we were at before. I still do, yeah. That's where we were waiting for the train. And Velado, and we always talk about those barrels of beautiful, beautiful olives. Now we get to one of the highlights, the walled city of Obidos, Obidos. You see the Moorish tiles, still a thing, very, very much of a thing. Upon alighting from the train, it was raining, a nice rain, and we had booked, I guess, one of the pensions. It's a government subsidized thing that we'd seen, but the room was too small. So after scouting around, we found this nunnery that had been converted into a place to stay called Estelagem. And this is the home of some of the greatest travel memories ever. First, it's beautiful in Estelagem, in this place, and no one was there. We saw one other couple at dinner, I believe. It's this expansive, beautiful marble floor, plants, well-staffed place was just our own. And I believe this might have been another one of the pensions that is subsidized by the government. Therefore, there are plenty of employees there, even if you don't need them. So there was one guy named Jordan who ran the coffee bar. And since there was no one there, basically he just waited for us to go get cappuccino after cappuccino. Hi, Jordan. Yes, another cappuccino, please. And coming up, I want to give you a heads up. It's one of the most spectacular memories. It kind of chokes me up just thinking about it. One of the meals in the restaurant. The restaurant had a huge fireplace that you could crawl in the fireplace, and they took our table right over, so it was right next to the fireplace. You'll see this big empty restaurant. Here's the restaurant now, big fireplace, and you'll see a pretty big staff. Yep, see that what they did with the table? Pretty big staff. There's the other couple. Any other people? No. Look at that. As I told you, just one other couple. There's the fireplace. I know that this camera work. These images are primitive and lo-fi. So what? See all the waiters? It's just a couple of them. Yep, waiting around. I guess that's why they call them waiters. Waiting for somebody to come in. But I just love having places to myself. That's a big deal for me. I'm not into the shared experience. I don't like going to the movies when there's anybody there. That's why I go in the afternoon. I see this image here and I remember still being jet lagged. Again, this is Obidos, a walled city. Walled town, I guess. Are we still recording? Yep, good. Since it's a 53-minute thing, it would be a bummer if I'd been talking all this time and it hadn't been recording, right? It's nice to see this again. The music goes pretty well. I'm pretty random when I choose soundtracks. I made all these soundtracks, but I'll randomly slide in pre-made soundtracks, and it always seems to work out. There's real magic in the juxtaposition of images and sound. Oh yeah, back to the airplane ride home and the turbulence. So I didn't have a drink or anything. And we were way up high. I remember looking at the windows, and the windows were iced up, really icy. More than usual, it seemed to me. But that happens. Just condensation had frozen. And then all of a sudden, wham, 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 boom, 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 boom. And this violent, fast turbulence. And what really got me was the pilot saying, "Flight attendants, sit down." Flight in a very stern, kind of freaked out way. "Flight attendants, take your jump seats." He didn't say, "Well, we have a little turbulence here, and blah, blah, blah." Either he didn't have a good bedside manner, or he was concerned. And right away, the plane started going steeply down, and going steeply down in severe turbulence. The combination is disconcerting. And I had the earplugs in, and I remember I heard this noise which went whoomp, whoomp, and I thought it sounded like an engine had blown up. Really, all it was somebody above me had slammed the overhead compartment, I guess. And with my muffled hearing, muffled by the earplugs, it seemed like it's the only thing I could identify. Happily, it wasn't that. It very seldom is. But we were so drained from that, to tell you the truth. We had a connecting flight. We had to land in snow in New York, had a connecting flight out of there. And we said, "You know what? We're just going to get off this plane and regroup." So we got this nice place in the Upper West Side, and up like West 80, West 76, 77, 78. And then stayed there and waited till the next day when it wasn't snowing. Splurged, took a limousine to the airport, because that was during my limousine to the airport period. Okay, where are we at now? Oh, still in Obidos, I believe. Don't worry, folks. We have another town to go. We had a good travel thing happen. For some reason, I got double charged, and it was my fault in Obidos, and the proprietors of that place wired it or forwarded it somehow to the next place we were staying, which was cool. I felt like an idiot. Back in the days when I didn't have, money to make mistakes with. So I didn't want to feel like a travel idiot, and that was weighing on me heavily. I was very glad to get that. Once again, more churches. There are very beautiful churches pretty much, well, in so many places. You don't have to go to Rome for beautiful churches. As a matter of fact, I think one of the most beautiful I saw was Spain. Here's the train station leaving Obidos. A little incident when we arrived at Obidos. Tried to get off the train, and some curmudgeonly local wouldn't let us off. Just some dude was blocking the doorway on purpose, and the train started to move. So we pushed past him as the train was gaining speed and jumped off. Now we're in Sintra. We're getting close to the end of our video here. We might have another 7 minutes or so. I don't know. Sintra. Once again, we did have a wonderful place to stay. Portugal is great when it comes to bang for the buck on places to stay, or at least it used to be. Of course, this is 30 years ago, but I'm guessing that while it's higher it's still relatively low. I'm guessing that. There's your old school Europe, man. That's not your Paris or your Berlin. Now this road here is going up to our where we stayed, and this is in a movie, and I can't remember which movie. Maybe one of you can recognize this. It might be a Bond movie. Good memories of this place. Also, run by a woman. Spoke English. There's a castle on the hill, not too far from us. I made sure to capture that in the sunset. Yeah, so our place was run by a woman that what? She was a woman, and it was a big, nice, beautiful place with not a pool table, some sort of table that looked like a pool table. It didn't have the same amount of pockets or the same type of pockets, and I don't think it was as big. Oh, so there's the bedroom. A little quick, interesting story. Right on the bedside stand. I remember I told you about these little pills called Valdispert, which had valerian root in it. They're supposed to make you sleep. Well, trust me, they did not work for me. But they had sugar in them. So I had put one of the pills on the bedside stand in case I needed to take it at night. Even though it didn't work, I took them. The thing is, there were ants in the sugar in these pills, I guess. So in the night, I picked up the pill and popped it in my mouth. But the pill was covered with ants, so I had a bunch of ants in my mouth. You can see why I confused the grounds of this place with the grounds of the other place. A previous place. Because they're kind of similar. So here's the room we spent the evening in before going to bed. And I think we ate in their restaurant and had a steak. But there's the table I was talking about. Nice big fireplace, which some places would not start the fireplace if there would be only one or two guests. I think there might have been 3 or 4 guests, but they lit up the fireplace because that's cool. And they had a bunch of video cassettes, and we watched Lawrence of Arabia. That's where I saw Lawrence of Arabia for the first time. And we're getting near the end. This is the morning of heading to the airport. Unbeknownst to us, we'd have a scary as heck flight. And then, see how lush and verdant and jungly it is? Okay, puppy. Let's say goodbye, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel.